when you're in this window, and I know more in depth of your story from reading your book of just those massive struggles, like working at Olive Garden, knocking doors, doing that lifestyle. Like, what were you learning? If you like rewind and put your brain into like a decade ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, like what were you learning about yourself in those moments of struggle?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just learned that I honestly felt like I just had more mental fortitude than most people. I think what I went through, like getting to that kind of financial success, is that most people are not willing, I think, to go through that. I learned a lot about myself but I think also it's because I'm insecure. I mean, the whole reason I wouldn't quit is not because I didn't want to quit. It's because I wouldn't quit because I was so embarrassed if I had to go back and basically let people see because to that point, I hadn't failed at anything. I mean, even the NFL, yeah, that didn't work out, but I felt like it was a little outside my control based on my injuries. Like I could not stay healthy. I got in college. I did not get to get on the field for a single college down because I was literally always hurt, always. And so I guess, I don't know. I guess in that point, I don't know how you feel about your journey, but I felt when I started getting into this business, I was like, man, if I struggled that much and I have this level of mental fortitude, which I think is in the top 1%, I can only imagine how other people feel. And it became apparent to me why a lot of people quit. It became apparent to me why a lot of people aren't successful, not because they're not special, but because they're not willing to push through the pain. Cause it sucks, dude. I mean, I just remember I didn't date. I was embarrassed to hang out with girls because of my car. I couldn't afford stuff. I mean, Olive Garden paid me $100 a day. I would go on a date with a girl and blow the cash on a date. And I was like, man, I don't want to do that anymore. I was working 16, 18 hours a day with no result. I mean, I would work half a day and then come home and work dead tired and it wouldn't work. And so when 2 years doesn't sound long, but when you're working every day of the week, 18 hours a day, and you rarely take breaks, it just feels like the end of the world. And it doesn't feel good and your self-esteem low. People ask you what you're doing, oh, I have a business. They're like, well, you're working at Olive Garden. How's that going? Not going great. So I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but I guess I learned a lot about myself and my mental fortitude. And when I finally did hit success, that did a lot for me because I realized I was like, you know what? Like, as long as I don't quit, even if I'm not the smartest person, even if I make mistakes, like I will get there. And I'm lucky I had a mentor who kind of like kept pushing me because I called him 4 to 5 times over that 2 years. I almost quit. And he just would talk me off the ledge. And it's crazy because I was on a podcast the other day and I said, dude, the difference in opportunity cost is about $49.6 million because that's what I would have made in my engineering job is about 400 G's. And I've done close to 50. And it's not all about money. That's part of why we're on this show. But I mean, that kind of stuff's crazy. And I think people do that all the time where they make these decisions that they have no idea the lasting impact and they'll never know. And that's scary to me because anyways, so
No,
yeah,
I love that. No. Take the space, please, because this is what this is about. I think about so often the difference between success and failure in pretty much everything in life is just timeline. A couple years ago, Grant Cardone, who I know that he invested into Think Unbroken. So he's a business partner, right? And he tells me something really important, dude. He goes, look, man, the only time you ever lose is if you quit. And I'll tell you this, building the business, like the podcast, obviously this is about value. This is about helping people and changing their lives. But I don't know about you, dude. I've never listened to a podcast that ever changed my life like entirely. I've always had to get the book or go to the coaching session, join the seminar, do whatever the next thing was from these people that I look up to that mentor me. And I think that a big part of it is just the willingness that I've discovered that I'm just not going to quit. Like I'm just not going to stop. And I think that a lot of that comes with the resiliency of maybe just the suffering that I endured as a kid. Like it's hard to grow up Mormon and poor and biracial, right? And so, being in that boat made me just go for a long time. And I don't know if you related to this, but for a long time, dude, I just hated people. And I was like, I'm going to go on my own. I'm going to figure it out. Nobody's going to help me because I don't love or trust anyone. And then I realized like one of the most empirical truths of life is that you have to have mentorship. You have to have community. You have to have coaches and partners and friends and family and love, because without those things, like nothing's going to be different. Was it because you grew up playing sports that you went and found a coach or a mentor, or was that just like happenstance? Like, how did that evolve for you?
I just hit rock bottom. I mean, so, I left college thinking that I could figure everything out, and I had a very big ego because at that point I'd done everything on my own, so to speak. I mean, I built my body. I got scholarship offers. I had straight A's. Like, I got the girls. So I just was like, I can do anything. And that's a good mindset to have. And I think to a degree I did, but then, 2 years trying to start my business, having no success, I was like, dude, like, I just got to a point where, especially knocking doors, I think that's really what pushed me over the edge. Is I mentally was so tired that I was like, dude, I will do anything. And I literally would have done anything, like anything. And so when I saw that ad and it was like how to build an online fitness business, it was just happenstance. I saw it. It was like, that's the industry I'd been in. And so I got on the call and I just gave him every dollar I had, because I just was like, there's no other choice. Like sometimes, my sales team and probably your sales teams, they're telling us about someone's like, yeah, they said it was I mean, I just didn't even care. I just was like, I'd rather be homeless than continue to live the way I'm living, because I hate it. And I just felt like a loser. And I think a lot of people are successful. Honestly, they have similar stories where it's some type of insecurity or fear driven decision making that just pushes them to like crazy heights and crazy levels where they can just endure massive amounts of pain for short periods of time. And like, I mean, door-to-door sales sucks. I mean, it was 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, including the travel. And we had 1 day off, and I did that for 7 to 8 months straight in the Alabama heat. I mean, it was hot, man. And it's like the stuff that happened out there, like people pulled knives on me, guns. I just think it was all those things. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I wish I had a better answer, but I just think it was that. I just hit rock bottom. I was so sick of that crap that it was like, dude, I'll lick a floor if I know it worked. And I think most people, they're unwilling to do that. Like they say they will, but they won't. But I was that guy. And I remember my mentor, David, he used to rip into me. And he even said, Tanner, he's like, you know what your best quality is? I was like, what? He's like, I can rip into you and you just don't care. And I was like, maybe it's because of sports, because coaches will just cuss you out.
For sure.
And I just didn't care. I had no ego when it came to finally that moment. Like I had an ego getting help. Like I was like, I don't need help. But when I finally had help, I was like, dude, I'm an idiot, obviously, because I'm not. It's what I thought would work, isn't it? So you tell me what to do. I will be your best student. And it was like, that's how it was for me in every program. I was always the best student because I just like implemented like a psycho. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like 99% of it. So I relate to the knocking doors, man. I did Cutco when I was like 18 because I was just like knocking doors all day, dogs barking at you, people freaking out, old naked ladies answering the door.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I got stories about that. Like I can't even scare them. I got bad stories about that.
They're just the most gnarly stuff. And just being like, is this it? Is this what I'm supposed to do? And then, progressing and, eventually landing a job with a Fortune 10 company, doing really well in sales where, I kind of figured out how to navigate the corporate environment. And then what I decided to do without really understanding how poor of a decision it was at the time, I was like, I'm going to quit this job and I'm just going to open my own business. Right. And I think that was A, it's the greatest mistake I've ever made. And B, I learned a lot in that because, Tom Bilyeu, one of my mentors, a great human in my life, says something that I think everyone really needs to hold on to. And that is that the struggle is guaranteed and the success is not. And so much of this journey really is about the struggle and being able to go through it. And I don't even think just necessarily financially, because dude, I've struggled in relationships. I've struggled with my weight. I've struggled with, the way I feel about myself when I'm by myself. And the only way I've been able to get through any of that is just like, keep going, man, just keep going the next level. But it was in getting mentorship and getting coaching and investing in myself that really changed the game. And I think that you're spot on, dude. Most people would not have made the decision that you made, but like, I've always thought about it like this. I'm like, I'm already at rock bottom. What's another $2,000, right? What's another $5,000?
It's not going to get any worse. And it drives me up a wall because I just wish there's something you could say sometimes where it's like, dude, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain, right?
Yeah.
Like you have nothing to lose. Like you can go back to your bad job that you're on the phone call that you're like, it just drives me nuts. But that's also just like, it pushes me to be better. Cause I'm like, you know what? I need to get better at sales. I need to get better at marketing. Cause like, if they are saying that, I still can't convince them it's not good enough, but I agree. And it sucks because like, they don't know, but we're on the other side. So we're like, dude, like I was there and you just like, you don't know, but like, if you go, like you'll get there and then you'll see how smart of a decision it was. But
the reality is there always are going to be people who tell you, do not follow your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that thing. How do you do it anyway, John? Because there are people right now and they're like, man, I got this dream, not even about entrepreneurship or money, but I want to go do a dance class, or I want to go do jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai. And they're just like terrified to just follow the thing that is going to bring them joy. Like, how do you do it anyway, John?
Yeah. Well, for me, from a business standpoint, it was a calculated risk because I was really able to learn the industry and look through everything inside and out. And, even though people were telling me I'm crazy, I was able to do freaking math. Hey, guess what? I didn't need every single client. I didn't need every client to say yes. I needed about a third of them to say yes. I don't need to sell as much as I did over there to make this thing work. And that it did. But really what I discovered, Michael, I think is where your question's going. It wasn't just the financial rewards. It was the building of my entrepreneurial spirit. So what it gave me was this freedom to understand, holy crap, man, you could do this. I always had that entrepreneurial spirit in me, but it wasn't even like on the radar to do this as an adult with an insurance company. Are you crazy? This was for like when I was in college with side hustles. Yeah, I had a concert company, a promotion company, and like that. These were John Cerasani side hustles that, yeah, man, you can do that. But like to do it in the real world, competing against people that are smart. I mean, whoa. So I discovered that when maybe I did it firstly for the, financial upside. I discovered like, okay, you know what? This is me, man. This is me. And I think if anyone identifies something in their life, where, gosh, like the examples you just gave, a hobby or whatever, maybe it's going and finding somebody that you haven't talked to in 20 years and getting the courage to, the courage to do that. Whatever the case may be, instead of why, why not? Why not? Like what is the downside here? You know what I mean? If you go practice jujitsu or like I see guys at my gym, Michael, doing Muay Thai, and I'm like, I won't make it through freaking warm-ups on that. Okay. I'm not flexible enough. But you know what, man? If I wanted to go do freaking Muay Thai, what's the downside? You know what I mean? Like, go try it. Didn't work out. It didn't freaking work out. I think we live in, in a society right now, at least that's a lot more welcoming than it was maybe 25 years ago in terms of encouraging people to do things. I have a 14-year-old son, and I had a conversation with him the other day. His, I won't get specific, but there's a kid that's maybe like, special needs in one of his classes. And they asked him to be in his group, handpicked my son and another kid to be in his group for, to just include him in this study group because nobody probably would have included the kid, or the teacher was worried about that. The kid didn't have any friends in the class. And I said, but that's a big compliment, Jake. And he didn't really understand why that was a compliment. And the kid was asking me, well, what do you mean that's a compliment? I go, the teacher picked you that she sees something in you that you would be, and he didn't understand it. And I said, and he's 14, he's not like a little kid. He really didn't understand it. And I said to him, because maybe there's, kids that would have picked on him or made fun of him or whatever, or just not done that. And he goes, Dad, it's 2022. Nobody makes fun of kids like that anymore. And I'm like, you know what? I'm glad he sees it that way. I don't know if he's 100% accurate or not, but it was kind of like a proud moment. I went from I went from thinking my son didn't get it to no, I didn't get it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It was kind of cool moment, but
Yeah,
that's a long way to answer your question there, buddy.
no, that's an interesting thought, man. And I think you're right. And we do live in a world that is not only more accommodating, but also when you are in the, and I'll say this because I think there's a caveat to it. When you are around the right people, they will want you to be successful.
Yep.
And when I think about my group of friends, my peers, my mentors, people like you where I meet and it's like we're in this same room for a reason. Like, dude, I want you to succeed. I want you to have great things. You want that of me. When you're in the wrong scenarios and in the wrong friendships and the wrong communities, people are going to want to pull you down. They're going to want to be like, hey, man, you better not do that. Or, hey, I tried this. It didn't work or this or that. And I think that that's one of the really interesting dichotomies of the time that we live, because on this one hand, yeah, you for sure have so much opportunity and so much potential in front of you.
Yep.
And on the other hand, it's like, if you are around the wrong people, you will never see it come to fruition because they're always going to be in your ear.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing that you can do is to do it anyway. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the worst that could happen? I mean, if you play it through, what's the worst that could happen if you tried to play football? You'll get an injury. What's the worst that could happen if you start a business? You may go bankrupt. What's the worst that could happen if you do whatever? And it's like, but then at some point on the timeline, the worst thing that could happen to you already happened. So you might as well try.
Yep.
When you think about the future, when you think about your life and what is important, what do you think are the most life-changing lessons that you learned in your willingness to bet on yourself?
Interesting. There's a couple things that come to mind, really. I had a coach in college that ingrained, it's a little bit cliche, but it resonated with me and I reflect on it from time to time. Said, don't point the finger, point the thumb. And his point with that, he was talking specifically to me too. We had a couple of, let's say, episodes of adversity in college. And that's a nice way to put it. And he said, no, John, it's not like you keep defending yourself. Well, this keeps coming up. At some point, you got to look in the mirror, start pointing the thumb instead of the point of the finger. You hear this once, you hear it twice. Guess what? You got to start looking in the mirror at yourself. So I think that was kind of a moment in my life where I looked at, hey, just got to take the bull by the horns here, man. It's so easy for all of us, right? It's so easy for all of us to blame our circumstances on other people. It's so easy to be pissed at the world, and even on a micro level, like, you hear stories like yours, Michael, or you hear stories not even nearly as great as yours, but like a story like mine where I'm overcoming, okay, I thought I was going to play in the NFL. Now I don't. Oh, I got to get a job. Okay. That's like a challenging time in your life. But like, to do something positive and not blame anyone, like in the smaller facets, the big ones like that, okay, let's draw attention to that. But like, I don't know, man. I don't like being around people that are constantly just like blaming everyone for their freaking situation. You know what I mean? Like, I don't freaking like, oh, I was at this party and I freaking spilled wine all over this white couch. Well, they shouldn't have been serving red wine at their party with a white couch. That many people. You know what I mean? Like, real though. People would rethink.
Totally.
You know what I mean? I'm at a freaking party the other freaking day. It was my friends. I'm not going to be specific, but it was a surprise party. And someone that it was in their clubhouse instead of at like a bar. And why would they do it here? This, I don't know anybody. And like, shut up. God, shut up. You know what I mean? It's just like, I try my best to avoid stuff like that. Sometimes I'll find myself being in the middle of that too. And I'll try to have that self-awareness. Wait a minute, I'm participating in this. Pull yourself out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's an interesting point. I think you're spot on, man, because it's self-accountability. And I think that's a great lesson to learn, especially young, while you're in college, but probably at any time, because there is truth. I mean, yeah, man, like life is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Like life will kick you while you are down, and it will rain on your parade, and it will feel insurmountable.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is like, I'll rewind some scenarios. I'll look at what is happening. I'll just sit back and I'll pause with it. Right. And I'll just ask myself, what is actually happening right now?
Right.
Is this as bad as I'm portraying it to be? Did I play a role in this? John, 99% of the time I did. And then what can I do about it?
Yeah.
What can I do about it? And I think accountability is such an important lesson in life, because it pointing the finger is so simple.
Right.
You lose accountability. Oh, it's your fault that my life is terrible. It's their fault that nothing is working for me. It's everyone else but me.
Yeah.
But I think when you get to that place of, wait a second, I play a role in this too. It's kind of like a baseball bat to the face.
Right.
Because if you're anything like how I was when I recognized this at 26 years old, I was like, oh, I play a role in my life as well.
Yep. Yep. And I got to tell you, man, even to this day, because I'll have peers, bro, that I came up with in the insurance industry, bringing this back to business a little bit. I'll have peers that are doing the exact same job that I quit. Okay. But, they'll give you kind of that backhanded compliment here and there. Dude, you're kind of lucky how that unfolded. Congratulations, dude. You got so lucky with how that did. And just kind of throwing like a little jab, like you didn't. No, dude. You know what? I was pointing the freaking thumb instead of the finger. And I was at work till 8 p.m. Oh, we weren't allowed to bring laptops home back then. And you know what I would do? I'd go into the office on Saturday morning and then go back at 4 p.m. on Saturday to check to see if anyone responded to the damn emails, because we wouldn't have Blackberries yet. Okay, that's the shit I was doing. What were you doing? You know what I mean? So like that mindset where, it has a positive connotation too. Get rid of the negativity, but also put it on yourself. Okay, what have you been successful with because you've taken the bull by the horns and done this on your own? And, it comes to fruition for me. I don't say it out loud to the people, but I'll have people like I just said, give me those kind of backhanded compliments. And it's like, okay, yeah, dude. Remember when you were leaving work at 4:30 on Fridays? Yeah, I wasn't. I keep that to myself though.
Yeah, there is some level to that. You used a phrase, stretching yourself, a little bit ago. And there's truth in that. When I think about what I see myself accomplish, what our coaching clients and our coaching programs accomplish, and it's so many of these people are just willing to go the next level, go the extra mile, do the thing that sucks. Because like a lot of them, it sucks, man. It sucks to wake up and meditate and journal and to do the somatic things that you need to do to get inside of your body. It sucks to work on programs and events at 10 o'clock at night. But, also at the same time, it's like, what is your goal? What is your perfect? What are you trying to accomplish? Yeah. When you look at your life and what is next, one of the things that I think about for myself is like, I know I can't get to where I want to go without mentorship and coaching. Okay. And so I'm curious for you, what role does that play in your life? And is it helping you go to where you believe that you want to go in the future?
That's a great question. And it's something I need to explore further than, I have not gone that direction at all. I've actually gone this other direction where I've asked people to be a mentor. People have asked me to be a mentor for them, usually from a business standpoint. But I haven't leaned on other people. Now, what I have done is drawn on experiences that I've tried to learn from, and I've tried to take into account the principles we talked about earlier, like not blaming other people for things happening. And I'll give you a quick for instance. All right, that's my second cousin. We only see them at weddings and funerals and whatever. Well, have you invited them to dinner? They haven't invited you to dinner either. When have you invited them? You know what I mean? Like take that kind of role. Hey, this is family. This is someone that's important to me. So, one of the things I've started doing in 2022 is that on the first of each month, I have a list of things I want to make sure I can accomplish that month. And some are business related, some are personal related, some are health and wellness related. And a couple of them involve reaching out to people that I haven't spoken to in a while, someone that had some kind of significant impact on my life. And it could be a colleague, a business associate. There's one category, another category is family. I keep myself fresh, Michael, in those kinds of conversations where, okay, you know what? I do remember now why this guy was such a significant part of my life from 2007 to 2012. Okay. Having this 2-hour conversation with him, even though we haven't talked to each other other than LinkedIn and Facebook posts for the last 12 years, you know what? That memory, I remember, God, that was good. Those experiences were great. Okay. Am I still that person? Have I drawn on any of that for, this next phase of my life that I'm in right now? So I do feel like I have growth from things like that. But I have not prospered at this point from a coaching or mentorship standpoint.
And so I'm curious, where did the self-awareness come from that you were able to make meaning of that? Because the only thing I thought in my head was like, you can do anything up to this level, but when you do this is like the breaking point.
I had that same thought, and like, I still have those thoughts, and I still have to break through those even today. And as I hit different levels of success in business and setbacks in business, like, dude, that still creeps in for me. It's like, oh, well, I come from here, so I shouldn't be good enough to do this. And those things still creep in. But I think that I've actually never been asked this question, so I'm just going to kind of chew through it with you, man. I think that for me, having all my siblings be a little older, I spent a lot of time like by myself, like playing with Legos, developing like just time alone. I spent a lot of time just alone. And, growing up a redhead and in the area that I was in, like all these problems, like, dude, I got made fun of a ton. And so I spent a lot of time alone, but what it did was it allowed me to like see people and see things and kind of observe versus be in the weeds. And dude, I grew up and I did we'd steal radios out of cars. We did all the dumb shit. So I relate with you a lot there. But I think it's really rooted in the fact of like, we grew up really poor, and everything that I can remember doing from 12 years old until probably 30 was running away from not being poor. So I knew if I went down the same path as my brothers, I would get the same my brothers got, which was living at my parents' house, living in apartments. Like if I went down that path, I would get that. And so if I chose something else, maybe, just maybe there's that, for me, it was 10K a month back then. If I could just maybe get to 10K a month, I could never have to worry about turning my shower on and water not coming out again. And I think that's what I was running from. So maybe it wasn't even a self-awareness thing. It was just a desire of like, I don't want what they have.
Man, that hits so home for me right now, because that was really everything that I chased as a kid. Because it dawned on me one day, I was like, oh, the reason my life sucks, and obviously this isn't true, to a capacity it is. The reason that my life sucks is because we're poor. Because we have to take hot water baths from the sink that we borrowed water from neighbor's house, because we have government food, because I'm on food stamps, because every single time I'm in school, they got to punch the little blue card. So everybody knows I can't afford to pay for and I remember being like this at 19 years old, at 18 years old, I'm gonna go chase money. And I didn't have a marker of 10 grand. I wish I would, because I would have made more money my first year, but I had a marker of $100,000 a year. And I was like, when I'm 21, that's the goal. And I did that, and it didn't actually solve any problems, which was really fascinating. And in fact, it pushed my brothers away, because I did not dude, the biggest mistake, I don't think I've ever said this on the show. The biggest mistake I've ever made with the money that I made, $1 million by the time I was 26, is I never gave anybody. Because the only thing I thought, Kyle, I was like, I'm going to go get this to make sure I'm good. Because here's the bad side of resiliency through trauma. You learn that you have to be massively hyper independent and self-sufficient.
1,000%. I agree with you 1,000%, dude. It's, and I even alluded to that a moment ago. It's like, I spent most of my childhood just kind of being alone and being away. And it does, like, even as you grow up to be an adult, it messes with the wires in your brain. And it's like, I have to take care of me first. And by doing so, and especially chasing the dollar, you tend to forget about the other people around you. At least I did. And yeah, dude, I mean, I've cannibalized a marriage over it. I've cannibalized friendships over it, cannibalized family relationships over it. And, you know, it's definitely not the ideal scenarios is chasing money all the time for sure.
Yeah, it's not. And, you know, even that's a part of the work that I'm still doing in my own life is looking at it. And now it's completely different, right? I mean, polar opposite. I take care of my family as much as I can. I take care of my friends. I'm a giver first. Cause I realized like there was a point where I'm driving a $85,000 car. I've got the nicest clothes. I got the best condo in town. None of that stuff matters. Doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it doesn't, dude. I remember, and you know, we're always still growing. We're always still learning. You know, we live in a decent, really nice house. Can't even say decent. Like compared to where I grew up, like we live in a baller house. We drive smaller cars, right? But the level, like you start to, it's like getting fat, right? Like you just kind of slowly get there sometimes. And you wake up one day and it's like, I have all this cool, and you're still upset. You're still kind of bitter. You're still a little frustrated. And like, dude, I can go out and get my Audi right now and go zip around. Like 17-year-old version of me would not believe the life I live today.
Mm.
And it's like, it's just that dynamic, but we also kind of take it for granted. 33-year-old me is pissed that I'm not living a different life. And it's like, I have to find that balance even today of like, dude, I have it really well for where especially for where I've come from, but I have it really well overall.
What would you reinforce into 17-year-old you? I'm not asking the question, what would you tell yourself? Because I think those questions are pointless. I'm asking, what would you reinforce that you were doing at 17 years old that has led you down the path? Like, what were the positive aspects of the shifts in your life moving out of that circumstance and that environment that you believe were cornerstones in creating who you are today?
I would say the biggest thing for me was to never let off the gas of self-development. I got dropped into the world of self-development at 17 years old, actually, just trying to figure this whole world out. And there was a season in my life where the work on myself, I just stopped doing for like 5 years and significantly slowed down any momentum that I had in my life at that time. So I would have told myself back then, like, hey, even when you don't want to work on yourself and deal with your trauma and deal with and see how things are, you have to do that, or it'll just cannibalize all the momentum you created up to whatever point that was.
Why did you go to that answer?
I think because of from 17 to 24, I was hard into self-development. And that was the time where I saw the biggest leaps in my life. 25 or 24 to 27, 28. I went through a divorce. I stopped working on self-development. I got into drinking a lot, and I started creating these bad habits that cannibalized my life, whether it was like not reading a book or not digging into things or drinking too much or chasing women too much or whatever it was. Whereas if I would have stayed plugged into self-development and what I was rooted in, it'd be a constant reminder for me for what I'm actually living for and my potential in my life, not just the season and feelings in the moment. And so I would say that 4 years where I didn't do it, I would have reinforced that at a young age to realize how important it actually was.